Shalom, welcome to the Jewish View. My name is Rabbi Nachman Simon with the Chabad House of Delmar, together with my co-host Mark Ronich of Statewide News Service and jbiztechvalley.com, and now columnist for the Jewish Press.
I have a column called the Albany Beat where I try to talk about how the government relates to the Jewish community. And anyway, today on our program we have a very special guest with us for the first time, Assemblyman Karl Brabenec. He's of Czech descent.
Yes.
And we always like the ethnicity, the variety of ethnicity at the Capitol.
Absolutely.
And you represent the 98th Assembly District in Orange and Rockland counties. So welcome to the Jewish View.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for the invitation to be here.
You know, Mark, you
really
say he's
excited.
from Czech. You know, I also obviously wasn't born here. I guess you have to be a Native American to really be here. To me, that is just the beauty of America. I mean, it's one of the beauties. It's a great land. Here, I mean, you know, I know there's nobody as noblemen and royalty in America, as that's what the American Revolution was about. But on the other hand, you're a representative of the people. In a certain sense, it is nobility, if you want to say that. And here, a person comes to America and like the doors are open. You want to be president, you want to be assembly person,
You
want
can
to
be
be
anything
rich.
you want to be.
And it's the
Absolutely.
beauty. It's really the beauty of it.
And you got
Absolutely.
Mark Jonai, who's from Albania, and you have Nili Rozek from Israel.
Yes.
And you know, all these foreign-born representatives who really wanted to get into politics. You have an Asian American, Kim, Assemblyman
Yes.
Kim.
Yes.
So-
We have a wide array of cultures in the
That's right.
assembly, and I've actually sponsored resolutions for Czech American Heritage Month, German American Heritage Month, and Swiss American Heritage Month. So, and I have a colleague who's presenting something on the floor today for Polish American Heritage Month. And we do celebrate many of the ethnicities all around the world. And it is good to learn about different cultures and to appreciate what it brings to America
Well, I'm
and
waiting
how it
for-
makes us a great nation, too.
I'm waiting for an Israel Heritage Month.
Yes,
day
oh,
or
it's
something.
coming. It's going to be coming. We'll have to
in all the years
sponsor
I'm
it.
here, I haven't
Yeah.
hasn't come up yet. So.
No, we'll definitely have to look at
So
it.
And everybody works
Absolutely.
together, one big happy family in New York.
Absolutely.
It's really an incredible thing. See all the different fightings around the world. Even North Korea, South Korea, they're all Koreans. You know, what are
Yes.
you fighting with each other?
Yes.
You know, they're not even different peoples, let alone different peoples. It's something I think is remarkable.
Absolutely. I always go by the slogan, you get further with honey than vinegar. So
Yeah.
I always try to come to, you know, a good solution, a peaceful solution with everything. I'm more of a diplomat and a delegate, and I try to, you know, appreciate and help as many people as possible. So that's always been my philosophy.
Now you were a super freshman because you were just elected last November.
Yes.
So you've only been in there maybe 5 months or so, 6 months, 5 months.
Yes, that's
so,
correct. Yep.
you know, what's your experience been like? And you didn't even take office right away because you had a close election.
Yes, it's been quite an experience
Yeah, tell us
the
about
past few months. When Annie Rabbit, who was my predecessor, she was elected as Orange County Clerk. She had held the seat for 10 years. And so she was elected in 2013 and had to resign January of 2014. When she resigned, created a vacancy, and we were waiting for the governor at that point to call a special election. But there were a various amount of vacancies all around New York State for Assembly and Senate positions. So the governor decided not to call any special elections and to combine the special election for any vacancy with the actual general election that was held in November.
So you waited
So-
10
because
months.
it's expensive.
Exactly.
have
Plus,
a special
it is
election.
absolutely it is expensive to hold another election, and you know, it's a short amount of time to get your message out, and and you get usually at these special elections you get very low turnout. So to one advantage, it was, you know, it was a good advantage to have it in November because you get more of that turnout, you know, more awareness of the election. The bad part about it was we were in the 98th district anyway, without a representative for almost a year.
Right.
And so we had to go to our state senator who was John Bonasek. In the Monroe part is Senator Bill Larkin. We had to go to both of those gentlemen, and also Senator Carlucci in the Rockland portion, for most of our state affairs.
And you were the supervisor of Deerpark.
Correct. Yeah, I was the town supervisor in the town of Deerpark.
Deerpark in your district map is all the way up on the northern quarter of the district, right?
Yes,
It's like,
I call it the North Pole of the district. And
Yeah.
I actually live in the North Pole of the district in Westbrookville, which
Right.
borders Sullivan County. And it takes from my house to the bottom of the district probably about an hour and 25 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So it is a big, long district. It's all of western Orange County,
Yeah.
going down into, you're looking at Port Jervis, Minnesink, Warwick, Greenville.
yeah. Right.
And then you have Monroe,
Monroe.
Tuxedo, and a little portion of Ramapo, about a
Kiryat
third.
Shoal,
Yes.
which we'll get into in a little bit.
Sure.
But you had a close election. You was like only a few votes here or there. It wasn't decided
Absolutely.
until after November, right?
Yes, we had actually a three-way race. I had a four-way Republican primary. We came out on top in the primary, and then the three-way race in November. After
Democrat, Republican, Independent.
Yeah, it was a Democrat, Republican, and an independent candidate. And the independent candidate drew a lot of votes. Primarily, this was in the Monroe area. He had taken a stance against the leadership of the village of KJ, or Curious Joel.
Oh, really? Yeah.
So this wasn't an Orthodox Jew.
So no, it was actually there's a huge issue happening which we could talk about later, involving an annexation proposal for the village of Curious Joel into Monroe. So that was one of the major issues of the campaign, and we all had various positions on it. I tried to take more of a neutral position, saying I'm a state representative. I need to focus in on state issues. This is more of a local issue that needs to be decided by the local fathers, and that was the position that I had taken.
Okay.
Some people did not like that, but
So tell me about the vote totals. Tell me about
Sure.
when you actually took the oath of
Absolutely.
office.
So November, I believe November 3rd was the election.
4th.
Or 4th, yes. And we, after the votes were counted before the absentees, we were actually 10 votes behind the Democratic candidate. It was that razor thin. And there was about 1,200 absentee ballots still left to count. So those took about another month to count. We didn't realize we were the winners until probably around mid-December, about December 12th or so. And I
you won
eventually won by 38 votes. So it was still very razor thin, but I definitely want to build on that, and I've been trying to build
Well,
on
you
that
can't
the
not.
past 5 months. So definitely we've been reaching out to all of the communities and
Right.
trying to get our name out there, the message out there, and trying to do the best job I can.
Okay, well, let's and
You see
you obvious-
Mazel Tov after a win like
Yeah.
that.
Hey, yeah, absolutely.
Well,
we were
like
sweating.
Well, it's a great story because like Andrea Stewart Cousins won by 36 votes. There were other people who won by those razor thin margins, but it took till sometimes till February before they got courts to rule on who was the actual winner.
Sure.
So I'm
sure.
surprised that it was the middle of December before you. So in January you were able to be seated.
Yeah, well, we were actually we were projected to go out to February, so
that's
having
what
it
usually
having
what it
yeah
is.
having it end in December was a blessing, and then probably it ended around December the 12th, the count, and I received a call from the minority leader. That I needed to resign as supervisor that Sunday and take the oath of office as the new assemblyman on Monday. So it was around December 15th, December 14th, December 15th that I took the office or took the oath, and I filled the last 2 weeks or so of Annie Rabbit's term. And then on January 1st, took the oath again
Right.
to start my own term
I see.
for
So
2
you
years.
really have
Yes.
you have seniority over any of the freshmen.
Is that why you
Correct.
took the oath
Yes.
the middle of December? 'Cause
Correct. Yep. So
it
I'm
gives you a little
a
more seniority by
yeah.
2 weeks.
I'm a freshman, but I have a little.
That's why I said you're a super
little more
freshman.
seniority. I'm a super freshman. Yes.
That's right.
Yeah. Yep.
I knew there was a point to my joke. I just wanted him to get
Absolutely.
to it. Okay, so let's talk about, you represent the town of Florida.
Yep, the Village of Florida.
Village
Yes.
of Florida,
Wait a
which
minute,
is
how
in the
many
town of...
Jews are in Florida?
Ah,
Now,
good.
everybody
yes.
wants to go to Florida. So
Yeah,
you
oh,
can
I
always
know,
say,
I know.
Well, the Jews are. You
Well,
don't have to go to 1,000 miles. You can go to Florida.
You go right to the village, and I tell you, that's the big joke. Oh, we're going to Florida. They're like, wow, that's wonderful. And we're like, no, we're going to the Village of Florida. And the Village of Florida is wonderful. The Village of Florida is great, but it's not the state of Florida, obviously. So,
The
but
rabbi
we
always
do
says
enjoy the
the
village.
state of Florida is the Holy Land. So when I told him you represented Florida, he thought that was the Holy Land.
Yes.
I was going to say, well, come visit you, Mark. over here.
Absolutely.
Come to
Yeah,
Florida.
nice warm weather, you know. But,
In the Village of Florida.
Yep.
And there was the town of Florida in Montgomery County where the Thruway Bridge collapsed. So I was reporting for WABC at the time, and my lockout was Mark Ronich, the town of Florida, WABC News. And the news director called me and said, no one else is saying the town of Florida, and Florida's in Orange County, and this is Montgomery County. What are you doing? What are you confusing? I said, no, there are two Floridas in New York. One's a village, one's a town. Well, that's too confusing. Everyone knows Florida's in Orange County. What's this other thing with Florida? And she never thought that there could be two municipalities with the same name in the state. And that's probably 7 or 8 examples of that I found.
we have, and
So-
even in my district itself, there are a ton of examples of that because we, like, as I said, I was a supervisor in the town of Deerpark. Well, we always received mail from Deerpark, New York, and Deerpark, New York
Long
is
Island.
located in Long Island, right?
With two words. Yours is
Yes,
one.
mine's one word.
Right.
Theirs are 2 different words. So, and they have much more bigger population. They're like 28,000 people. We're 8,000 people in Deer Park.
Your whole county has 28,000.
Yeah, well, a little bit more, but and then Greenville's the same way. There's a Greenville in upstate and a Greenville in my town.
So let's talk about Kiryas Joel. Let's talk about what's going on there, because that's a really
Absolutely.
tight-knit community, but it's also the most poverty-stricken community in the country.
Yes,
And you wouldn't think that would be the case. So maybe you could give us your
Yep.
take on it and what you've seen, because I don't think you've been to Kiryas Joel before you started campaigning.
Yeah, very rarely. Very rarely.
Right.
We did go into the village toward the end of the campaign to meet with all of the officials there. It's definitely, the village is growing in population. It's growing every year.
Well, of course.
And absolutely, and it's become.
They wouldn't have it
since,
any other way,
I believe
right,
it was
Rabbi?
the late 1970s when it was established, and from the late
Should know why
70s to
is it
now.
so
it's-
big? Because of high birth rate. Maybe our viewers
That's
don't
why I
know.
said
Absolutely, there's a
you
very
wouldn't-
high
That's
birth
why I
rate.
said you wouldn't have it any other way.
Well, but people may not know this. If people are migrating, everybody's coming to the
Yes.
center.
But it's mainly the Satmar community that's there?
I believe so. Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
okay.
So there's a, as I said, a huge birth rate, and it's been growing since the late 1970s. So recently, there's been an issue, probably the past few years, of annexation of a part of the town of Monroe, in which the village of Kiryas Joel is surrounded
Within,
by.
yeah.
It's within the town of Monroe. There's been a lot of opposition from people outside of the village of Kiryas Joel.
Like Woodbury?
In not just in Monroe, but in Woodbury and Blooming Grove, which is another town that's next to it.
I'm not kidding. If it's surrounded by Monroe, so they're asking for more land in Monroe.
In Monroe, most of it. They're asking for about 507 acres to annex in the town of Monroe to go into the village of KJ.
So, but why is the surrounding communities upset with that?
Well, because it'll bring a lot of high-density housing, a lot of environmental changes, and they say it may bring more people up from New York City and increase the population. Again, changing the whole quality of life in the town of Monroe, which it definitely will. It absolutely will if that goes through. Now, there's 2 arguments to it. You're seeing this population growth since the 1970s. You're not stopping that population growth. It's happening. So they are going to have to build more housing. However, there is opposition from the people that have lived there maybe more than since the 1970s, since before the 1970s, that they don't want to see their community change. It's always
So
the NIMBY, not in my backyard kind of thing.
Explain what
but-
you mean by annexation.
Okay. Annexation is when you take a portion of or land or a portion from another town or village and you incorporate it into your own town
Okay,
or
so
village.
Kiryat Shoal wants a
They want to expand
more-
their borders.
Right, they want to
Right.
expand their borders and take in more, have less of the town of Monroe and more of the village of Kiryat Shoal.
Correct. They're gonna. Their proposal is asking to take 507 acres from the town of Monroe
and make it the
add it
village.
into the village. Right now, it's just town of Monroe, but now it would be
But why
part of the
can't
village.
they just develop land in the town of Monroe and just live their lifestyle the way they want to live the lifestyle?
They can.
Why do they have to
They
annex
can.
it?
However, they would prefer that acreage be part of the village. That the
But
village
what's their
have
argument for
control
why?
over that. Well, it would be they would be under their local zoning codes, not the town of Monroe's, because you have different codes for
Yeah.
the village of Kiryat Joel as opposed to the town of Monroe. So, in preference, they would rather have it in the village or fall under the village government rather than the town government. So.
But now, who's it up to then? I mean, everybody's arguing, like I said, these towns around them. I mean, whose opinion counts?
right,
Not
yes.
just everybody gets a vote.
Sure.
It's a free
Well,
country for your opinion, but
Absolutely. Right now, there was I believe there was petitioning for that particular acreage to go into the village of Kiryat Joel. So what happens is they started that process to bring that land over, and it was most of the landowners that owned the land of that 507 acres. They wanted to be incorporated into the village of
So
KJ.
did the Satmars start buying up the land in the town of Monroe?
Oh, sure, absolutely.
Okay, so they started
There-
buying up this 507 acres. So while it's the poorest in the country and getting the most in terms of food stamps and social services, they still have money to buy land.
Absolutely. Well, they probably get various investors to buy those portions
what
of
it
land.
takes just
so.
a few investors. It doesn't take the whole.
Sure.
They don't-
It's not
everybody
cheap
chip
in
a
Orange
dollar.
County. It's
Sure.
not cheap.
No, land isn't cheap.
Land is expensive in Orange County.
But what the argument has been now is there have been environmental review or seeker, environmental review studies on whether or not this should go through or the annexation should go through.
And don't you need a state law to be passed in order, like from a home rule message, they have to pass it? You do have to sponsor something?
Well, I'm definitely getting there. Definitely getting there. So, pretty much what happens is the DEC commissioner can decide who's the lead agency involved with this environmental quality review study. The DEC decided to make the village of Kiryat Joel the lead agency. So when that happened, myself, Assemblyman Jim Skoufis as well, we had sent a letter to the DEC commissioner saying, really, you shouldn't have the agency or the government that's petitioning for this annexation to be the lead agency. There should be an outside independent agency looking at this, whether it be the DEC, whether it be Orange County itself, because not just the 507 annexation that's going to go into the village of KJ, it's going to create, again, a large, high-density housing population. It's going to change the whole landscape of southern Orange County, and it's
Not
going to
the whole
affect...
landscape.
Oh, absolutely. And what will happen is it will spread out into other areas of the county.
Well, don't they want to spread out to Woodbury?
There have been proposals to do that,
That's
and there
what I
was
heard.
actually years back in the town of Woodbury, they actually incorporated the village of Woodbury around the borders of the town of Woodbury, so they're actually right on top of each other.
So the village
So-
is the same borders as the town of Woodbury.
Exactly, except for a little portion of Harriman, which is
Okay.
another village.
Right.
And the reason that was done was to prevent annexation of portions of the town of
Buffer
Woodbury.
zone, a buffer zone.
Right, it
if
was a
you will.
buffer, exactly. So
So you're going to have to sponsor legislation, or you're not in
Well,
favor of sponsoring legislation?
Well, what I did
It's
was
a political football, isn't it?
absolutely, it's a big political football, and
why
I
is-
try to do what's right and what's fair, and I've always tried to do what's right and what's fair for everybody. So, in my opinion, what's right and what's fair is having that independent agency look at this environmental quality review.
Yeah.
So to do that, I'd like to see, again, the county is doing an independent study right now of the possible effects of it. I'd like to see the county play a bigger role. I had sponsored legislation or home rule legislation that would allow the county to approve any annexation, 99 acres or more, either to approve or disapprove. It would be up to the county legislature to do that. However, we met with some opposition on it from the Assembly majority. We received two memos, two home rule memos. And when you have a home rule bill, they'll send you a memo. You need a home rule message or a home rule resolution
Right.
from the municipality.
A request from the home
from
municipality.
Exactly.
Right.
So this bill was for Orange County. So we originally received a letter from the Assembly Majority Council, and it said, here you go, you need a home rule message from Orange County, New York. Great. So we notified Orange County, New York, and we said, listen, you're going to have to pass a resolution
And this was
to do
from Jim
this.
Yates?
I'm not sure what his name is, but
and why is James Scoofus involved in this?
I'll get to that definitely. That's next.
Because we're running out of time.
Oh, okay.
So,
So then what happened was 3 hours later, we received another memo from the same council, and they said we needed Orange County, New York home rule message. But not only Orange County, we needed a home rule message from every municipality in Orange County, all 42. Villages, cities, towns, including the village of Curious Joel and the town of Monroe. So right there, we knew we weren't going to get a home rule message from the village of Curious Joel or the town of Monroe or even the city of Middletown, who had expressed opposition to the bill. So that died in the water. At that point, we contacted Assemblyman Scoofus. He had an idea for a statewide bill that would amend what's called the 239 process. And this is a planning board process where if there's any major changes, especially if it involves water or sewage in environmental quality review acts or anything of that nature, what happens is if you're changing any major scope of anything, the county has to review it, the county planning department. They will then give recommendations back to the municipal board on what to do if they're in favor of it or they're not in favor of the proposal. So like, for example, like in the town of Deerpark, we changed our zoning. So that was a major change as far as land use is involved. So we had to submit our proposal to the county planning department. They had 30 days to review it, and they said, well, we like this, we don't like this, and that kind of thing. Then the municipality, by a supermajority vote, can overrule the recommendations of the county. If they don't have a supermajority vote,
Which is
then they have to
60%,
accept them.
Which is 60%.
That would be
So if it's
4 out
five-
of the 5 board
Right.
members, right?
Okay, so
right.
it's 80. Okay.
Yeah,
So
so-
now Assemblyman Scoofus, because he hasn't been on the show.
Yes.
He's like 23 years old or something.
He is 27 or 28.
He's
at
one
this
of the
point.
youngest members
Absolutely.
to be elected in the assembly.
Absolutely, yeah.
And he had no real legislative experience or
Yeah, I think he was a
supervised-
councilman in the town of Woodbury before.
Councilman.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And you're how old?
I am 35. Going to be
35.
36 this year.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Mazel tov.
Thank you.
But I just wanted, so, you know, you've had more experience like with town government.
Yes.
Are you more disposed to favoring the town as opposed to the village because, you know, your alliances are more with,
Well,
with town officials and
I'm definitely an advocate for local government. I'm
Well,
an
that's-
advocate, you know, for more local control. I believe that, you know, coming from running a town government, that's where you have most of the contact with your constituents. Once you get to the upper levels, it's, you know.
So the lobbying going on by the town and the village,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, are they putting pressure on you? Do they come up here and
We haven't
or do you-
received too much of a lobbying
so they,
effort
they
personally.
just wait for you to come home, and then they go see you in Warwick.
Yes,
and you do
well,
district
we haven't.
office.
Well, we haven't really been contacted too much by.
Well, you're
by the
making all these
village, so.
decisions on their behalf when you must be talking to them.
Yeah. Well,
To
no,
let them know.
we're in talks with Orange County government, the county executive,
But why
the
not
county
interact with the
legislature.
village and the town also? I mean, just on as a courtesy.
No, well, they know what's going on, and what we're trying to do is we're trying to look out for the county as a whole, as far as this legislation is concerned. Because basically what happens is with the proposal that Mr. Skoufis has, that I'm co-sponsoring,
Okay.
it adds annexation to that 239 process. So right now that's going through committees in the assembly.
Your head's
And we'll
spinning,
see-
isn't it?
We'll see what happens. We'll definitely see what happens. But
Next year, though, or the year
It's-
after, because
we're
not
coming
gonna
to a
happen
close
this year.
now. We're about 9 days
Right,
left.
we're not
so
gonna happen here.
It's possible though. It is possible. We
Okay.
know Senator Larkin is sponsoring it in the Senate.
Okay.
And he's moving it through the committees now in the Senate. We're coming down to the deadline, so hopefully we'll have a decision by the end.
Just a technicality, I know they say June is over. You do come back, don't you, once in a while?
Oh no,
Only
no!
if the
June
governor calls them
17th
back.
is the last
Really?
day of
Well,
session.
it could
Yeah.
be 18 or 19.
It could be. They could extend it, sure.
A couple of days, but generally speaking, when they leave in
That's it.
June, unless the governor calls them back, which he's threatening to, that's it. You
Exactly.
won't see them until January, and we're safe.
It's a part-time,
Yeah.
We're safe.
it's a part-time job,
You're
that's what they
safe.
say, all right.
So now let me just let the audience know, because the first
Yes.
time you're here, is that you graduated from Minnesink Valley High School in '97. So you are young. You earned your BA from Mount St. Mary College, and you have an MPA, which is a Master's of Public Administration.
Yes.
From John Jay College of Criminal Justice. So you're no
Correct.
slouch.
No.
Okay.
Definitely, we have a
So
lot
I
of
just-
education
I
behind
just
here.
want to know.
Yes.
I just want people to realize that you're. What is this with the North Cricket Frog?
North
What is
Cricket
going on
Frog.
here with
Yes. The North Cricket Frog bill, that was originally an anti-rabbit
Yeah, I
bill
understand,
that I.
but it's
that
not a
I-
rabbit bill. It's
No,
a-
it's now a Brabenec bill because I brought it back. And pretty much it's in the village of Florida where we have a huge lake called Glenmere Lake in the village of Florida. And the Glenmere Lake supplies a lot of the water supply to Orange County Jail, to the village, to surrounding communities. And what's happening is with that lake is there's
I
a
got it.
certain weed that's growing
So
in
if
that
it's
lake.
if the cricket's an endangered species, you can't use any chemicals
To control
to
the
control
weeds.
it.
Correct.
And therefore, it's getting out of control.
Correct.
So that's why you have to take it off the endangered species list, which
Yes.
is what you're thinking of doing. Okay.
Exactly.
We
That
gotta-
is
we-
that. But
okay.
unfortunately, I think that bill will be dying in the assembly. That's from
The
what I
crickets
heard.
are no more.
I think the cricket
Okay.
frog is safe for now.
Okay.
So,
And you want to increase the terms of office for the legislature to 4 years.
yes.
So
yes.
you want
that would be a constitutional amendment.
exactly
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it would have to pass this year, and then another time,
then
and then
next
go
year.
before the voters.
Absolutely.
And you want this because
2
Quickly.
years.
Yeah.
2 years is very, very.
you're always fundraising.
You're always fundraising. It's very difficult for anyone to learn the job in 2 years.
Okay.
I wouldn't be opposed to increasing the terms and maybe doing term limits. That could be a possibility too, or a compromise on that.
But it's not likely
but-
as a freshman Republican or a super freshman Republican.
Right.
that
It's,
you're gonna
it would be
go
very,
anywhere.
very difficult to do.
Okay.
But it's a proposal that I think makes sense.
At least you're on record.
I'm on record that
Okay.
I'm in favor of that. So
Okay.
we'll see what happens.
And you want to designate black dirt as the state soil to designate the black dirt region as home to the most fertile soil?
Absolutely.
Do you really need a bill like that?
Pine Island, New York. We're very proud of Pine Island, New York. It's where they grow all the onions over
Yes.
in New York State.
Right.
And
The Big Onion Festival.
Big Onion Festival in Pine Island. We're very proud of
Should we
them.
go there? Really have
if
some
you want
bagels and
onions.
limes and
Absolutely.
put some,
Anytime.
onions
Come
on our
down.
bagels and
Anytime.
limes.
But again, that was a rabbit bill that I inherited, and there was a movement a few
You don't
years
have
ago.
to inherit these if you feel
Oh
they're
no!
silly.
But you know what? I think it's a great idea.
You
You know,
do.
we have official bird, we have an official flower. Why not have an official soil? So that's
Yeah,
why I
official
figured-
food.
Yeah,
that's
official
what
food.
We
yep.
had that on the Jewish
Can we get an
food.
official rabbi?
There you go. Absolutely.
I'll take it.
And you
Sponsor
want to
me,
provide
okay.
an extension for the suspension of driver's licenses for persons serving on full-time active military duty.
Yes.
Yeah. Is this, you don't have West Point in your district?
Yeah, no, I don't. But we are a proud supporter of our armed forces and our veterans, and whatever we can do to help them out, we're in favor of.
So this would be where they wouldn't have to pay extra for vanity plates or something, or what?
Wait, let me see. What was the? Can you name
No,
that
you,
bill again?
you
or?
can't see. No.
No. All right.
It's down.
We
here.
have 1
It's over
minute
there.
left.
Okay.
You better read the bill fast over here.
Yes. Yeah, it's just pretty much an exception if they are in active duty, they're overseas. As far as the suspension of the driver's license,
I see.
they would have to deal with it when they got back.
I
But
see.
you know,
Okay.
for that period of time, they would be.
I
Exempt.
just think you're coming up with, you know, interesting bills, but
Sure.
ones that are kind of light for now. But,
Those are
you
some
know.
light bills, but I do have ideas on property tax reform, on reforming the Common Core, Common Core education
Well,
curriculum.
we're going to have to get
which,
to that.
know.
Yes or no? EITC, Education Investment Tax Credit. Are you
Yes,
in favor? Or?
in favor.
In favor. Good. Okay.
Yes.
Close it out.
Can push that through. You got one more week.
Yes,
In
we
any
do.
case, thank you. You're, like Mark says, you're very new, but you're full of vitality,
Thank
full
you.
of good ideas. So we wish you continued success in your endeavor.
Thank
Yes.
you so much.
Much
And it
success.
was
Thank
definitely
you.
a pleasure to be here today. And anytime I'll come back.
Great. We'll have you
So,
back.
thank you.